I will go ahead and open TattApp. So these are the needles up here. We've got liners, round shaders, magnums, curved magnums. Now you can't just start drawing. You have to select a needle and dip in a color first. So you can select your needles up here. To select a color, you have to click on this little button here, and that opens up the color picker. From here you can select colors, and they will be added to your palette. To close the color picker, you just click this again. Now if you want to change your background color, click right here, and you've got different choices of background colors. Now again, before you can draw, you have to select a needle. So let's say we start with a 23 mag, and I will click in the red. From here, you can set your machine speed. Right now this is set to 8 volts. And that draws out a pattern like this. Now the hover state. If you notice, when I set my needle against the screen, there is an icon, a little pointer icon, so that you can see how big your needle is. Now, the hover state determines how much pressure you have to apply to the canvas before that icon goes away and drawing begins. So the moment I apply enough pressure, it draws. If I turn this down all the way, you'll notice that it just starts drawing right away. And if I turn it all the way up, I have to apply a lot more pressure to get it to draw. So that's just for fine-tuning how much pressure you have to apply before it starts drawing. Now the force is the pressure sensitivity. So if I turn this all the way down, and let's turn the hover all the way down, I don't have to apply hardly any pressure at all, and it draws nice and dark. If I turn this up, notice you can hardly see it. So I have to apply a little more pressure, and I have to build up to this opacity here. So you fine-tune this to help dial in what feels right. Two fingers to undo. 3 fingers to redo. You can also double tap and hold to undo quickly. And you can triple tap and hold to redo quickly. So you don't have to sit there and just keep going tap, 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 tap. Turning this down, this will go down to 4 volts. I'm going to clear the canvas here. I'm just going to undo all of this. I'm going to select a black. I'm going to turn the force all the way down and the hover all the way down, just so it's easier to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to turn this down to 4 volts. And now, when I draw, you can see that the needle marks are spaced very far apart. If I turn this up to 11.7 volts and I draw about the same speed, you can see that the needle marks are very close together. So you'll see here that this is your cycles per second. At 4 volts, we've got 13 cycles per second. And at 11.7 volts, we have 120 cycles per second. And you may notice the correlation. The iPad Pro can run at 120 frames per second, hence why this is as high as the machine can go right now to simulate 120 cycles a second. Okay, the next feature I will discuss, since I have inks laid out, this is your rinse cup. You click in that to clear the color. Whatever color is selected will show right here. So now that I've clicked in the rinse cup, you'll see that no color is selected. If I try and draw, it's going to give me the alert to dip in a color to draw. So if I select a yellow and then I want to dip in another color to tint this, I can dip in the red, and now you can see it blends the two together. And if I want to make this a little more red, I can keep dipping in the red and it will keep pushing it more towards red. I can dip back in the yellow and push it back more towards yellow. If I need to darken it, I can tap in the black. That brings the value down, and I can also dip in the white to bring the value up. Here you can see the chroma is completely disappearing, and now it's starting to turn to a gray. I've obliterated the chroma in these colors by using black and white. If you want to rearrange your palette, you can click this button here. This will highlight green, letting you know that you are now able to move these colors around. So simply grab a color and move it to where you would like it in the palette. When you're done editing your colors, just click this button again, and that will save the changes. If you have a color in your palette that you no longer want in your palette, you can simply hold on it, and an alert will come up asking you if you want to delete this color. You can click yes, and that color will be deleted from your palette. So I have a 23 selected. I'm going to dip in the black, so I have black selected. This is just a straight magnum, so when I draw with it, it just has a regular magnum pattern. With a tattoo machine, you can also roll your machine, and when you roll it, you're working more with the corner, and that causes a gradation from the edge outward. So to simulate this, you can use these corner buttons. So when you draw with those, you'll see you have a harder edge here, and it fades out a little more as it goes to the other edge because the needle is tilted. Like that. Now, to move your canvas around, you can use two fingers. You can drag it and rotate it. And to reset it to its original position, it's a pinch release. Just a quick pinch and a release, and it resets. Now over here is a switch that will allow you to pinch zoom. So if I have a line drawn here, I can zoom in and really see what the needles are doing. And then to reset, boom, like that. Now next to this, you'll see a lock. Once you lock it, you can't do anything. It stays right where it is. You can't zoom in, you can't pan, can't do anything like that. And you can lock this in any position. So say I'm working in an area like this and I don't want it to change, I can lock it, and now there's nothing I can do. I can't pinch zoom to reset it. There's nothing. It's locked. It's staying there. Your tray right here, because it does take up quite a bit of space here on the screen, you can tap this and give you a little bit more room to work. You still have access to your colors here, so you can dip. Now if you want to bring in a background image, to use as a stencil, you can click this button here. This will open up your photos. Let's do this one. And if you have an image in your photos that you'd like to use as a stencil, you can click Use here. And now you can see it puts it here. Now there's a little Done and Reset button that shows up when you do this. When this is showing, this means you're in edit mode, which means you can move this around. You can resize it, reposition it, get it right where you want it on the canvas. So let's say you get it in a spot and you want to bring it back to where it was when you first started, just hit the reset button. That brings it back to its original position. I'll move it down a bit, bring it up. Maybe I'll get this out of the way so I can use the whole canvas. Now that I'm happy, I'll hit Done. I'm going to get that mark off my screen. So now that I have this in place, I can discuss a couple of other features. This is the alpha slider right here. So bringing that up brings your background image all the way fully opaque. And I can take it all the way down, just so it's not so prevalent when I'm working, but I can still see it. There's also a visibility icon, which simply turns the visibility on and off of the background image. It doesn't affect the tattoo layer. So let's say with this particular image, I want to do a stippling style, in which case I'm going to choose a round liner. I'm going to turn my machine speed down to maybe, let's say 5 volts. So I have my slider, but then I can fine tune it with these 2 green buttons, up and down buttons, right here, as you just saw. So I'm going to go 5 volts. I've dipped in some black. Now you can see that I can practice my hand speed. Notice when I started, my dots were really far apart. You know, if you go too fast, they're really far apart. So by seeing the spacing on them, I could decide if I need to speed my hand up or slow it down. And so now once I've got that figured out, now mind you, with the stippling style, I'm not getting any sort of fading because I have my force set all the way down. So I will bring my force up so I can experience some fading. See, now the dots are not as dark. I have to apply a little more pressure. And what this simulates is putting the needle into the skin at the normal depth and then coming slowly out of the skin. So what that's going to help do is cause a bit of a fading effect on your needle marks. So now you can see if I turn my background off, I can see it doesn't affect my tattoo layer. I can see the work that I've done without being influenced by the background stencil. Same with the alpha slider, doesn't affect the tattoo layer. So now that I've brought in an image, you'll see that a new icon has shown up, and this is the Edit Image button. What that does is this simply brings up this again and allows me to reposition or resize the background image. And again, if I just want to bring it back to where it was, I can hit reset, and that brings it right back to where it was. So that's what that icon does. There is also a camera button here, which if you have a piece of artwork that you've drawn on paper, you can use the camera from your iPad and take a picture of it and bring that into TattApp as well. This particular icon right here will clear the canvas. It will clear all of this. However, it will not trash everything. That's what the trash is for. It will simply clear the canvas, and it will maintain your ink selection. It will maintain the inks that you selected. It will keep all your settings. All it does is it clears your canvas. So that's destructive. The minute I hit this or I hit that, I can't bring any of it back. So if I want to save this to work on later, I have a save icon right here. So when I click that, that will bring up a dialog asking me for a name. So I will type in a name for this project. I will call it Lotus Flower. I will hit enter, and it tells me that my project has been saved. So now I can get back to it later if I'd like to. So now I can demonstrate these two features without losing the work I've done. So by clicking this, it will give me an alert to make sure that I want to clear the canvas. The keyword is clear the canvas. That's all it's going to do is clear the canvas. So if I click clear, it clears the canvas. Notice I still have my inks, nothing has changed there. If I want to bring that project back, or any project that I've saved, I have this icon here. I click on this, and I scroll through my projects, and I find the project that I'm looking for, and I click on it, and there it is. It brings it right back. It saved my inks, saved my background. I have my tattoo layer that I've already done. Now if I click the trash button, this is going to ask, are you sure you want to trash this project? That means it's going to set everything back to default. It's going to set it back to the same settings it had when you first opened the app. So if I hit yes, you'll see that now the inks are cleared, the canvas is cleared, everything is set back to the way it was. Anytime you want to export an image that you have created in TattApp, you can use the share icon right here, which acts just like any other app that uses the share icon. What that will do is bring up a dialog that asks you if you want the background to be the color that it's sitting on right now, or if you want the background to be clear. So if it's clear, you can bring it into another app like Photoshop or Procreate and then be able to see through it and be able to use layers underneath it. I will demonstrate that right now. I will hit clear, and then it will bring in the option box. Now, instead of saving the image to my photos, I'm actually just going to send it right over to Procreate. It has imported it here. So right now, it looks like it's on the white background just like it was in TattApp. But if we open this, we can see that that's just simply the background color. You know, if I change this background color, you can see that the art is actually clear. So the last button to discuss in this little menu area here is the question mark. This brings up your user guide. Oh, look, there he is. So this goes through and talks about the different features and how to use the app. And it basically covers everything that I am explaining here in this video user guide. And to get out of this, you simply click the X button there. I'm going to load up another project that I have been working on. This is my background image here, and I have a stencil here. If I turn this off, the stencil and the background image goes away. So clearly this background image was created with two different elements composited on each other. So there's a couple ways you could do that. You could go into Procreate and create it that way, or you can go over to the other section of TattApp the drawing section, which you can access by clicking this icon here. Just click on the pencil. This will bring you over to this area here. So to demonstrate this better, I'm just going to trash this whole project. And I'll work from scratch. So now I'll explain this area. Right now, you can see that this pencil icon is selected. This will allow me to draw with a simulated pencil texture. I'll go ahead and undo that. You also have a pen icon, which will allow you to draw with a pen. And this is what I use to create the stencils. There's also an eraser icon. Notice that when you select it, the pen is still selected. So to demonstrate that, you can select the eraser, and notice now you have a red icon. I'm going to bring the eraser up in size a little bit, and now you can erase everything you've done. So let me switch over to the pencil tool. So let's say I've drawn this in the pencil, and I've got it to where I'd like it, and now I want to trace it. So I've drawn this. I have this icon that shows up now, these move arrows. When you click on those, it brings up the same dialog box from the other one, and that allows you to be able to move this around, resize it, reposition it, reset it if need be. So I've got that set the way I want it. Because I have the pencil selected, these each have their own layer. The pencil has its own layer, the pen has its own layer, and then if you were to bring in an image, that also has its own layer. So selecting the pencil, anything I do, whether I erase or adjust the opacity, it's only going to affect the pencil layer. Here's the visibility icon as well. And if I hit the move button, that's only going to affect my pencil layer. So to better demonstrate this, I'll select the pen layer. And then if I turn the opacity off on the pen layer, it only affects the pen layer. If I go back to the pencil layer, it only affects the pencil layer. If I select the eraser and I erase, it only erases on the pen layer. Whatever layer is selected, that's the only thing that's getting affected. To turn the eraser off, you can simply tap it again, or you can tap the pen icon again. Or you can tap any other icon. It will turn the eraser off. When I select the move button, that also only affects the pen layer. Whatever layer is selected. I'll reset that, hit done. Once I'm happy with my stencil, I can transfer it over to the tattoo section. Now for this example, before I transfer it, I want to turn my sketch layer off. I just needed my sketch layer to help me draw. I don't need it for the actual stencil. So this is what I want to transfer. So to transfer this over, this is the button I click right here. This will transfer this image over to the other image. So when I click that, it will fade in and out. That lets me know that it was transferred. Now this little tattoo machine icon, that takes me back over here. And now I can see that my stencil was indeed transferred. And I have control over the alpha. And if I need to reposition this, remember I have this button here. So I can reposition this, resize it, reset it. Let's go ahead and trace this project. Let's go back over here. So I've discussed almost everything. The force slider acts the same as the force slider over here. That is just to help dial in the sensitivity, your pressure sensitivity of your Apple Pencil. And then you also have the size. Turning that down. So the last thing I need to discuss in this section is bringing in an image. So we've got this icon, which is the exact same as this icon here, the bring in an image icon. So if I click on this, it will open up my photos and I can bring in a photo. Notice now I have a new icon. I am currently in the edit image mode. This is up again, just like from the other screen. So I can resize, moving around, get it just the way I want it, or I can reset it. I can also edit the opacity here. Now I have it the way I want it. I have my pen tool selected. I have the ability to zoom in and move out. Now I can go ahead and I can use this. I don't like the size of that, so I'm going to undo and then change the size of my pen. So then I can sit here and create a stencil from this reference image. I can always bring in another reference image. I'm going to bring in this picture of my dog. Bring him up in size. I'm going to hit done. And notice the pen is selected. Because I've exited the edit image mode, I'm right back to my pen. And after I've done this, I look at this and I think, well, I want to adjust the opacity some more. So I just click this button here to put me onto the image layer. And now I can adjust the opacity. And I'm done. So now that I have my pen, I can create my stencil. So now I'm going to turn the visibility on and off to see how my stencil looks. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to turn that off and hit done. Now I'm going to move my stencil, maybe resize it a little, get it prepared. I think I'll move it over to this side because I'm going to now go into the image. Let's bring its visibility back. Let's turn it all the way up. And now what I'd like to do, I want to use this as a reference image over in my tattoo layer. So I can kind of move this out of the way so that I can look at it while I'm tattooing it. So another little trick is, notice I've got a lot of edge. I don't need this edge in the photo, and it's kind of obscuring my stencil. One little trick you can do is select the edit image and then move it to where the excess is off the edge of the screen. Go ahead and hit done. Now, edit again and move it back. You can see that by moving it off the edge and then hitting done, will actually crop it. So now I can move this over here and not have all that excess space affecting my stencil. Maybe I'll bring this up a little bit. Good. So from here, I want to make sure my image is at full opacity. However, my stencil, I will probably want to knock the opacity down on it a little bit, just so it's easier to see my tattoo marks. So now that I'm happy with that, now I'll go ahead and transfer this over. Let's go back over here. I'm going to bring the opacity all the way up so that this is nice and clear and this is subdued. You'll want to save often, especially when you've made major changes, just to be safe. This doesn't have an autosave feature, so I'll hit save, and it lets me know that it has been saved. So the last thing I want to talk about is when you're loading projects. So I'm going to load a project. It's going to ask me to make sure because that's going to reset the entire canvas. I'll hit yes. You have some options in here. If you have a project that you no longer want, you can swipe to the left and it will give you a delete option, and then you can delete that particular project. It will ask you if you're sure you want to delete it, and then hit delete. That project will be completely gone. Now, because I'm on the dog project, I have it open. Let's say I'm happy with where this is at, but I want to be able to come back to this state. Say I want to do some work, but I also, if I get so far in that project and I don't like what I've done, I want to be able to come back to this state. So I can duplicate this project so that this is saved and I'm working on a new project. And the way you do that is you open up your folder, find the project that you're on, which is this one right here, dog. Go ahead and swipe to the left. You'll see that now you have a duplicate option. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this project. I'll hit duplicate, and now I have to give it a new name. I'll call this dog 2. I'll hit enter, and now it's been saved. I can go ahead and close this dialog. Just so you know, this is the new duplicated project. You're no longer in the original dog project. This is now dog 2. So those are all the features of TattApp. For those of you that may have had the previous versions, you will notice that the damage detection system is gone and the multiply blend mode is gone. I am working to bring those back. However, just be aware that the damage detection system was very processor intensive and caused a lot of lag and was very hard to dial in well. So that's going to take some more work. I can't promise I'm going to be able to get it working, but it is something I am working on. And the blend mode, to be able to put the lighter colors over the darker colors and not have the lighter colors cover the darker colors, that's a feature I feel very strongly about. However, I've been unable to duplicate it in my new coding, and I'm going to have to spend more time to try and figure that out or find another programmer who can help me figure that out. So for now, hopefully those features will be back eventually, but just be aware that they are gone for now.